There you go.
Hi, I'm Tom Quigley, CEO and founder of Florida Cannabis Coalition. And today we are holding this Facebook Live presentation to answer some of the questions that we're receiving here about Amendment 2 passing and marijuana, cannabis being legalized not only in the state of Florida, but in other states throughout the country. Over the past few days since the passing of Amendment 2 on Tuesday, we've been inundated with phone calls, emails, and messages, and unfortunately, we have not been able to get back to everyone. So in an effort to get our message out there and try and answer some of the frequently asked questions that we're receiving, we decided today would be the day to field those questions. Some of the things that people want to know is what they can do now. What can you do now? Number one is to review the amendment. If you go to United for Care's website, you can find not only Amendment 2, but the letter of intent, which goes item by item to show the different intent of the amendment that has been proposed. We also have the rules on our website, FloridaCannabisCoalition.com. If you go to our website and take a look, we will be uploading answers to these frequently asked questions, as well as fielding new questions from our members. Things that have been of topic. Let's go through the list, and what I'd like to do now is introduce to you Peter Sessa and Carlos Hermida, who will help to go over the items that we've found recently that deal with everything from security to real estate, as well as the application process. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, Pete.
I'm Pete. This is Carlos.
Welcome, everybody.
So we've been getting a lot of questions, and we've been getting a lot of questions for over 3 years now, and now we have a whole set of different answers.
Yes, yes, we do.
So the first things I think we should go over are what can't you do as far as Amendment 2? And Carlos, can you buy cannabis right now?
No. Unfortunately, right now you cannot even touch cannabis. It is still illegal.
Can I use cannabis now?
You cannot even use cannabis.
Okay,
right now.
so we can't use cannabis and we can't purchase cannabis just yet. When are these new laws supposed to start taking effect?
Well, on January 3rd, the amendment takes effect. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually buy cannabis as a patient or sell it as a dispensary. You actually have to wait 6 months after that due to language that was already in the amendment.
Okay, so 6 months after January 3rd, we'll start seeing dispensaries opened, or are we going to start seeing...
Well, that basically means that the health department has to put down the regulations for this business by that time. So there might be a few little hurdles that we might have to jump through, or maybe it might take them a little longer than expected, or maybe even they'll have the regulations out in 3 months and then we can start hitting the ground running in 6 months. That's still yet to be seen.
Great. So one of the questions that we get a lot of is, how do I apply to open a dispensary? So since there are no regulations in place, it doesn't seem like anybody can apply to do anything.
Nobody can apply to do absolutely anything.
Well, what can they do if someone wants to open a dispensary? What is something that they can do to try and maybe get the ball rolling or position themselves better?
Well, there's a number of things that you can do, and as a matter of fact, I highly suggest that you start doing these things now because there are many people in Florida actually starting to do this. You can incorporate a business. You can find your location, you can begin branding your business, you can start putting together a team, and several things like that.
That sounds like a great plan. The other thing that we're getting a lot of questions of is, how can I get my medical card? Is that something that people are going to be able to do? Do we know anything about that?
Unfortunately, we do not know anything about that at this time. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny because Amendment 2 is actually one of the shortest pieces of marijuana reform legislation that's ever been brought forward. It's about 5 pages, I believe.
It also passed by the largest margin ever of any marijuana.
Absolutely,
measure.
and that's definitely something to
71%.
celebrate. But unfortunately, a lot of the rules that need to be put in place, are the health department has to put that down. It was not specifically put in that amendment, so we have to wait that until June 3rd to really to really see, and I say at the latest June 3rd, to really see what this is going to look like for a medical card, for a license, for anything.
So when we look at other states, I think that we can see a lot of where our regulatory legislators are going to be looking for guidance to passing these laws. So we've been doing this for quite some time, so we're very familiar with the laws in other states. So based on what it takes to form a dispensary or any kind of cannabis business that touches the plant out in maybe Colorado or California. What do you see as things that can be put into place now, like the types of items that people are going to need to address so that they can probably prepare better?
Well, there's a number of different things that you're going to need to address. You're going to need to address your security. You may want to think of insuring your operation in some form or another, which can be problematic since a lot of insurance companies wouldn't touch such things.
And security and insurance are very specific to this business. Security is a very
Absolutely.
big deal.
Security is a huge deal. I mean, you're not allowed to really have any weapons in a marijuana dispensary.
That's big in
So,
Florida.
and that's huge. I mean, that's something that's federal, that you can't have that in any dispensary in any state. So really, like, making sure that you have proper security guidelines is paramount for ensuring the safety of your employees and ensuring the safety of your product and your finances.
I would imagine. So I'd imagine the location that you're in is going to be also highly regulated.
Absolutely. Zoning is very important. Again, this is another one of these things that we really don't know what it's going to look like as far as what the health department's going to put forth as far as zoning is required. But there will be zoning regulations. Some places do not want marijuana dispensaries.
Well, we know it won't be near schools or things like that.
And even taking it a step further, there's going to be certain cities, counties that are going to put ordinances down that would put a moratorium against dispensaries in their area.
So we're going to over the until these regulations are put into place or during that whole time, we're going to need to keep abreast of all these different regulations, all these different counties that are going to put moratoriums on them. So there's going to be a lot of news coming out over that time that people are going to need to stay on top of.
Let's put it this way, Pete. There's going to be a lot of information coming out in the next 9 months that are really going to shape the way this industry is going to look in Florida. And it's going to be very difficult to, keep your ear to the ground and make sure that you see what's going on.
It's very interesting because there's usually very small things, like provisions put in these regulations that not a lot of people are usually keying in on. And when you can be one of the first people to realize or to see these types of things, it's much easier to capitalize on them.
And that brings up another point. It's very important that you don't just do this yourself. Don't just look at these rules yourself. Really, you need professionals, legal professionals, business professionals.
That's another legal profession.
Yes, and to make sure that if you're going to do this, that you remain compliant and that you remain within the confines of the law, because there's serious repercussions if you don't do that.
Right. One of the things that we've seen a lot of in other states when it comes to dispensaries is a lot of community outreach.
Yes.
Outreach to not just law enforcement and things of that nature, but actually community development projects and a lot of giving back. And that seems to be something that drives this industry more so than other industries.
It's very important. It's very important understanding that if you're going to be an entrepreneur in this business, you have to take on some sort of activism work. I mean, you have to contribute to the social welfare of your community. It's very important for this business to succeed that people see and legislators see that, we're not just trying to sell weed.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to benefit patients. We're trying to benefit our community. We're trying to reinvest a lot of the money that we'd be getting from this business into our community and, help out people.
So when someone wants to start a business that doesn't have any regulations yet, I mean, you talk about maybe they can build their brand or incorporate, and how would somebody go about that? How would that benefit somebody? How could they start building their brand now, today, when they don't know what the regulations are?
Well, there's things that you can do. You can start a website.
Mhm.
You can start a location. You can.
Well, you can name your company.
You can name your company, of course. You can even go as far as getting, a graphic design artist to design your logo.
Right.
Really starting to push your name out there. And
building that team that you were talking about.
Exactly, and that is of paramount importance right now. To be honest, from the amount of calls and emails that we've been getting, there are many people who want to be a part of this business. So it's very important that you think of how you're going to stand out.
So one thing I have experienced is people will call and generally want to open a dispensary or want to have a delivery service or looking for something that's kind of cookie cutter, like kind of generic. What everybody wants to open a dispensary. What advice do you have for someone that is coming from another field, coming from doing something for 20, 30 years, or maybe someone new starting something new? How do they differentiate themselves? How do they not just be another dispensary? What advice would you give them?
Well, chances are that, if you're coming in from another field, you have yourself established in that field already. You've already established yourself as an expert. So there are ways that you can take, what you do already and apply that to the cannabis industry. Mm-hmm. For example, if you are a real estate agent, right? Become a real estate agent that specializes in the zoning for the cannabis industry, like we talked about earlier.
Right. So when it comes to learning about the cannabis industry itself, so I have a business, I have expertise, say in sales, or I have expertise in maybe publishing a magazine or something like that. What can I do to gain more knowledge about the cannabis industry, the plant itself, to get more well-rounded in.
That's an excellent question. And as we were talking about before, social welfare is a big part of this business, and becoming an entrepreneur in this business, really you take on a lot of activism work. So I suggest taking that on right now. Join organizations like Women Grow Tampa Bay, Central Florida Normal, join the Florida Cannabis Coalition. As a matter of fact, for somebody who's looking to be an entrepreneur in this space, join the network of entrepreneurs who are advocating right now for this business. And not just joining our organization, we do have a lot of programs in place to educate and consult our members, but really joining these organizations really help you keep up to date on what's going on in the industry, networking, things like that.
Right, and I know that you teach several classes for the Florida Cannabis Coalition. So you have a wealth of knowledge yourself, and I know that you have some other instructors that are also teaching some of the classes. I've taken part in some of them, and they're fascinating. And
we have some amazing classes. We have grow room design classes, cultivation classes, processing classes.
Really, like I've been to some of the bigger cannabis events and seen some of the workshops that they do there, and the knowledge is just as good, if not better. Because you're in a smaller setting and you're able to ask questions and more convert than going and spending thousands on some of these conferences. So it's a really good resource, and you're a very good instructor at that.
Well, thank you.
So outside of cannabis, right? So what other kinds of business types of mentoring will people need?
Well, you're going to need things like accounting, sales training, website development, graphic design, even things like public relations.
Well, public relations is pretty important.
Yes, it is. And absolutely legal work is going to be something that is really needed in this industry.
Right. So I think that, we've about covered some of the frequently asked questions.
I think so too.
I know that we'll probably get some more questions as a result of this video. But if you're, looking for more, you have more questions, you can ask us on Facebook, send us a message. You can comment on this video, or you can send us an email at pete@floridacannabiscoalition.com or info@floridacannabiscoalition.com. Visit our website, which is
FloridaCannabisCoalition.com.
all right. Thank you. Have a great day.